Good morning, Inspired Illuminators. It's me, Jennifer Engel, CEO and founder of Inspired Illuminate, which is, sounds big and fancy. And really, that's just me writing higher possibility states and doing these jaunts with Jen. The purpose of the jaunts with Jen is to see problems in the world, and then to talk about solutions, and then it's also to talk about big ideas and how I see the world. But lately, my jaunts with Jen have been about, either my own experiences, current and collective. I don't think we can ever have a current experience without also pulling upon all of our collective experiences that were similar to it. In addition, I find that when I'm going through an experience, many other people are going through similar experiences, or they have gone through similar experiences, or they will go through similar experiences. And what I'm finding is as I expand my consciousness and as I listen to my heart, the solution to problems are becoming easier and easier. And so I wanted to kind of talk about, I'm not sure what I'm going to call this. I don't know if I want to call it fear or ego is a liar. Listen to your heart. I'm not sure yet. So, the other thing I'm not quite sure of is why I feel so passionate about talking about communication. Maybe it's because over the past couple years, I've seen what bad communication can do. Bad communication or no communication seems to just rip and tear things apart. And all it really does is create fear and anxiety and insecurity and anger and misperception. So I've had an experience, but I've also had this experience in the past. And one of the nice things, well, I don't know if it's so nice per se, but one of the educational things is every time you have an experience, you can kind of compare it and determine your growth or your atrophy over time. So part of this also comes from studying science and what people are learning more and more about the brain and about the heart. One thing I'm learning, and then also I guess they're more spiritual concepts, but when you actually start studying some more kind of spiritual concepts, people are finding that science and spirituality are kind of almost coming together, like they're able to start kind of measuring some of these things that the ancients, spiritual people have just naturally known. One of these things that they're learning is that the mind, so there's two different worlds. There's the world of unity and wholeness, and that one seems to be related to the heart. Now this we can't prove scientifically. And then there's the world of separation. And that is the mind's job. We separate because we need to see the details. And we need both. We need details in this world so buildings don't fall down. So when you're driving down the street, your wheel doesn't fall off the car. Things like that. We need both. We need wholeness and we need details. But what they're finding is that our minds and our hearts are magnets. And what they're finding is that the mind, now I don't know, okay? I would have to go and research the numbers and all this other stuff. So I probably won't put numbers in here, okay? Because I don't have the data right now. My job is to understand the whole, the general idea of things. And that's why God or the universe constantly puts me next to detail people. Because that's just not my job, I roll. So they're finding that the mind is more weaker, electromagnetically speaking, than the heart. But so many of us use our mind to guide our decisions. Or you can go on the other end of the spectrum and just use your heart to form your decisions without consulting the mind. Now, one of the things people will say about spiritual growth and evolution is you need to get these two things working together. In my experience, you want the heart to lead, but you want the mind to counsel. The mind is the one who's going to see the danger, who's going to see everything that could possibly go wrong. So in my experience, and other people can disagree with me, and I'd love to hear your comments and your experiences. That's why I say lead with the heart. The heart for me is becoming the parent of the mind. In the past, I used to just lead with my heart, but the problem with the heart is it can't always see danger. It can't always see what could go wrong. The heart sees more like spirit sees. It sees the highest possibility in every situation. And when you get to higher levels that aren't in the physical world, there really are no dangers at a certain level. But in this physical world, there are some dangers. That's why we have seatbelts in cars and things. So in this physical world, we do need the mind. We need to consult the mind. But we need the heart to parent the mind. Like, thank you for showing me what the possible dangers and things could be. I'm going to take those into consideration, but everything's going to be okay. Don't worry. So we need to listen to the mind, but we need the heart to parent the mind. Now, what does this have to do with communication? Well, what I've started to find is many people either A, don't communicate, or B, they communicate with the mind. They only communicate the fears and the what-ifs, the anxieties, the guilt, the insecurities. They don't stop to consult the heart. Okay? And in a physical and kind of metaphysical world, what I've started to experience is when people are communicating with the mind, some people might call it the ego, you will know that communication has taken place because one or both of you will start to feel afraid, nervous, guilty, insecure, angry, frustrated, and then your tone starts to change. Your tone starts to get out of tune. Now, the problem is most people don't see that, and then they continue And then it becomes like this atomic bomb where everything just kind of like blows up. And then it's a lot harder to pick up the pieces and put them back together. On the other end, if you don't communicate, the problems kind of sit in a dark corner and start molding and festering and infecting slowly. So that's the problem with not communicating. What I've started to do, and this is the tip that I want to share today, is I've started now to recognize when someone is communicating with the ego mind. Because now I know what that feels like. Feeling is the universal language of what's really going on beneath the words. That's the true communication. And so now, when someone is communicating with me, if I and or them start to feel angry, frustrated, afraid, guilty, insecure, I put up my hands in that little T and I say, time out. Ego is coming in here, and we can't do that. And then I posted a video a while back, and if I can remember, I will try to post the link below, about how to have difficult conversations. And in that video, I talk about it's really important to literally take a time out at a bare minimum for an hour, up to 24 hours. And in that time out, this is where it is okay for the mind to work. But you have to put mind almost like in a timeout. You do have to maybe move mind away from the heart so that it can't try to control the heart. So you say, mind, I see that you, or I feel that you see there's a problem. Mind, let us try to think of a solution or a couple possible solutions. And this is where it's really good to take notes. That way, when you come back together, you can hopefully remove some of the fear, some of the guilt, some of the insecurity, some of the anger, some of the jealousy. Okay? And then when you come back together, you use your notes as a guide. But when you bring the notes in, now you say heart. It is your turn to guide the mind. Heart, people in this space, we are going to communicate with courage. Courage isn't that you're not afraid. I've had conversations in the past where someone has said, okay, if we talk about this, I just want to let you know it is triggering my flight response. And then I say, okay, I see that, but I really hope that I can reassure you to the point where you're not going to fly, run away. So again, courage isn't that you aren't not afraid. It's if you are afraid, you still stay and try to work it out. But again, you use your gut and your heart as a guide. The person will stay if they feel that your heart is open, that your mind is open, that you are sending them compassion and understanding. But if you're not, they're going to pick up on that. If you are sending them your ego, your fear, your nervousness, I do believe that we still carry with us those animal instincts. I often will even describe myself as like a deer in the woods. If I sense danger, I'm going to flee to protect myself. And we can sense that in our bodies. It's called the gut feeling. So when you are in a space of communication, you have to have your heart and your mind open. Okay? You have to reassure the person things are okay. You have to make sure you don't shame them or make them feel guilt. You have to make sure that you're building up their self-confidence, telling them who and what they are versus what they're not. And you have to do this in a compassionate way. The ideal would be in a loving way, in a caring way. But there are some times you might be angry with someone because they broke boundaries or something. At a bare minimum, you have to be in a compassionate heart. You can still be angry, you can still be frustrated, you can still be whatever, but you can still have compassion for somebody. You can still disagree, you can still see things the total opposite way, but you have to have compassion. Okay? So, let's see if I can try to sum this up really quickly. The problem is when we let either the mind or the heart lead without consulting each other. When you are communicating with someone, you will know if they or you or both are communicating from a place of compassion, because even if things feel nervous, you can still communicate and the waters are calm. And if they're not, you need to take a timeout. You need to go into your separate corners. You need to consult the mind. Say, mind, we're going to write a list of the problem and the possible solutions. Then you're going to set a time for both of you to come back together and try to communicate through the heart. You're going to try to encourage courage within each other. You're going to try to communicate by alleviating any guilt or shame and accepting that person's perspective, whether you agree with it or not. You're going to try to build up each other's self-confidence. And then you're going to try to show compassion. And in that you will find truth. And in that you will find that the tone is at a bare minimum, hopefully, neutral, if not harmonious. Okay? Sometimes you'll be able to find the common ground. I think I said this in my last jaunt with Jen. Each person, view them as like a Venn diagram. And all the things that you share in common is that happy little pea pod in the middle. And that's where you guys are going to meet. And if there is no happy little pea pod, nothing that matches or comes together, you're going to agree to disagree. And again, when you communicate, you're going to try to tune things up, work on it together, maybe do an overhaul if you guys are still communicating with fear and guilt and insecurity. That's when you might need to bring in that third party to help neutralize the energy. And then if all of that is happening, you could possibly get to that trade in. And again, like I said in the other Jaunt with Jen just the other day, I've been starting to see things more like playing on a playground. Hey, I really want to be on the swings, and I want to play kickball, and I want to go down the slides. And some people might want to do that with you, and some people might not want to. And you just have to respect that. You don't have to hate them for it because they like slides instead of kickball. You don't have to say, well, you're a bad person because you won't go on the swings with me. You know, that's the ego mind. The heart is more like a child. It says, okay, but you know what? Maybe we'll meet up and do kickball or swings another time. Okay? So, I think this talk, I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm going to call it. I don't want to say like fear is a liar. Maybe I'll just call it something simple like communicating with the heart and mind and why that's important. I hope this has helped someone today so you can use your own communication skills, your own mind, your own heart to build people's courage, to alleviate their guilt and shame, to come to accept yourself and others just as they are without projections or judgments, to build up people's self-confidence, to reduce their insecurity, to increase your own compassion and empathy for others, and increase compassion and empathy in the world around you. Because now more than ever, the world needs clear communication, which can lead to compassion and connection more than ever. And it needs you to help be that. Peace and blessings.